Hope your day's going well for you. Excuse me, my name is Rex Lewis, and I'm one of the Dragon experts at HTHEngineering. And I thought what I'd like to share with you today are some ideas for different ways to use macros with Dragon. Most people are familiar with the idea of speaking a brief code phrase and having a block of text appear. That's the simplest form of macro, called the text and graphics macro. And like I said, most people, I think, are familiar with that. So I wanted to look today at two other ways of getting things done with Dragon that can come in handy with, especially with some electronic medical records programs, and also show you a way that you can use the same name for a macro to accomplish different things, or accomplish the same thing in a different way depending on what program you happen to be working in at the moment. That way you can, excuse me, you can use the same macro trigger words to trigger the same activity in different programs, even though those two different programs would approach that in different ways. So let me real quick show my screen so that you all will be able to see what's going on. For those who are not real familiar with creating macros and templates in Dragon, you'll find them under Tools, Command Browser. You don't always have to go through the command browser to work with your templates and macros, but that's the way I like to work with them, because it allows me to see the list of all of the macros and templates that have been created. User-defined ones, as a rule, are the ones that that you have created, although you can sort them further and have them in different folders over here if you like. The advantage to keeping them in the user-defined area is there's a command in Dragon. You can say, "What can I say?" and Dragon will open a sidebar. And one of the tabs in that sidebar will give you a listing of all of the macros and templates in the user-defined field. Let me see if we can, what can I say? There's the Dragon sidebar showing up over on the right side of my screen. Happening a little more slowly than I'm happy with, but it's there. Well, that's interesting. All right. At any rate, that's not working today. Seems like it always picks webinar days to really act up. But anyway, let's get right to working with the macros and templates rather than working on trying to show you where to see that list. I like to right-click and choose New to start a new template. We're just right-clicking anywhere in this area. There are other ways. With Dragon, there's almost always 2 or 3 ways to accomplish anything. You could go to My Commands, New. You can go, let me cancel out of here for just a second. You can go over here to My Commands, New, and it'll do the same, take you to the same place. You can see this little tab here that says Task Pane. You can click on that and excuse me, choose New, and it will get you the same place. Over here under Tools, you can choose Add New Command. And then with your voice, you can just say Add New Command, and it will open it up. Or you can, if you have text that you've already dictated and you want to make a template out of it, you can highlight it and just say make that a shortcut, and Dragon will open up an editor window with that text already pasted down here. So there are lots of ways to get to this point in a macro, in the macro creation process. Dragon tries to be real friendly that way, to give you numerous ways so that you can find what's going to work best for you in terms of getting to where you need to go. Now, Dragon has built into it 4 different macro programming languages. The one that I mentioned earlier, where a block of text gets inserted, is usually a text and graphics macro, text and graphics macro. You can have blocks of text, you can use graphics in there as well, but the basic function of them is you give a short command and a longer block of text or graphics will appear in your document. But the other 3 languages that a lot of people don't get involved in very much are the macro recorder language, which I hesitate to use the term language with it because it really isn't something that you have to program. I'll show you. I'm going to be showing you during the course of our time today how you can start it recording, and it acts a lot like a VCR. It just records everything that visibly happens on the screen, and then when you call for the macro, we'll play it back for you and repeat the process that it recorded you doing. A step-by-step macro gives you the ability to lay out, just as it says, step-by-step instructions for what you want it to do. That's handy for when you're going to use a letterhead, for instance, in Microsoft Word, and you want to have that opened up with a voice command to open up a blank copy of the letterhead so that you can then fill in your letter. And I want to show you how that can be done today. So I want to focus on those 2 particular types of macros this afternoon. We're going to get started with a macro recorder. Oh, that's interesting. There's an alarm telling me my webinar is starting. All right. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to call it this one Dragon Smile. This is just going to be a simple thing I'm going to create. It's not going to be anything complex. But then we're going to take a look at how this can be used a little bit in your EMR program specifically. It can be used in a lot of ways, but the thing I have in mind today is your EMR program that you're working with. I have here the Microsoft Paint program opened up, and some people may not realize what these little radio buttons are up here, the one that says Global, Application Specific, and Windows Specific. I'm going to make this one Windows Specific, and what that does is it tells us, it gives you the opportunity to specify where you want this macro to work. So I want it to work in Paint. Actually, I'm going to not make it Windows specific, but application specific. And I want it to work in Paint, and only in Paint. So right now, the things that I'm going to record, if I say Dragon Smile, Dragon will carry out the things that I've done if and only if the active window is Microsoft Paint. So I'm going to click the record button, and you'll see this window and this window disappear. And a little control panel will appear down in the lower left corner of my screen. So here we go. Click on record, it goes away. There's the little control panel. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to draw, obviously, if I'm calling it Dragon Smile, I'm probably going to draw a little smiley face. And as you can tell, they didn't hire me for my artistic skills. But there's my smiley face. We'll even finish that off. Now I come over here and stop my recording and close my window, my little control panel. That brings this back up. Now, there's an awful lot of stuff. You may be looking at this little window going, oh my word, what's all that about? Well, oddly enough, a lot of that is not needed. Right here is the mouse left button down. And if I double click on that, this recorded me pushing down on the mouse button 488 pixels down from the top of this window and 258 pixels in from the left edge. And then recorded my motion. And in this case, we do want to keep that because that's what made it a smile, was dragging along that path. So it was recording the starting point here and then the movement of my mouse in that smiley shape all the way down. And then here's where I put the left button down again to draw the rest of some other part of the picture. I'm sorry, the smiley came last, but anyway, this is the instructions for drawing the different parts of that smiley face. So we call it Dragon Smile, and I've recorded my movements and save it. So now, if I create a new document here, we'll get rid of that and just leave it like that. When I say Dragon Smile, Dragon's going to go and play back what it was that I did before, down to the last detail. And so it will happen exactly the way it happened when I did it, perhaps at a different speed, but it will happen just as I did it. Now, why did I want to make that window specific? Well, these particular movements aren't going to do any good in any other program, probably. So there's really no sense in having it do that anywhere else. But there's something more to it than that. Now that that's finished, let's go back and we're going to create another Dragon macro. We're going to call it Dragon Smile. Now, that's interesting. Same name. You can't get away with naming two macros the same thing unless they're at least application specific. In this case, I'm going to make it application specific and tell it that it's only going to work in Microsoft Word. Now, by the way, when I open this drop-down list, the only things that are going to show up here are things that are already open on my computer. So you need to make sure, if you're going to try to make something application-specific or window-specific, that you have the desired application or window open before you begin to create the macro. So we're going to make this Microsoft Word specific, and we're going to make it leave it as a text and graphics macro, and we're going to say we're going to make it bold, and we're going to make it going to set my font to 24 point Baskerville boldface. There we go, just for something to do. And save it. Now I have two macros called drag and smile, two different kinds. One of them is text and graphics, the other is macro recorder. When I go into Microsoft Word over here, I have my blank Microsoft Word document, and I say drag and smile, what's it going to do? It's going to put in I am smiling. So the behavior of dragging with the same command is going to depend on which window the cursor's in. And if it's in a third window, if it's in Microsoft Excel, nothing's going to happen because it isn't programmed to happen in that application. There's no macro for dragon, although it may put the word dragon smile in a cell in Excel or something like that, but it's not going to trigger a macro by doing that. Excuse me. So you see from that if you have different programs, and sometimes you'll use one to accomplish something, sometimes you'll use another to accomplish the same thing, but there are different steps involved in getting there, you can set up different macros to function in different ways with the same name in different programs. So that could come in handy for some people if you have a certain thing that you want to have happen in your EMR and a similar thing that you want to have happen in Microsoft Word, but go about it in different ways. So that'll give you some flexibility with your macros that you may not otherwise have. And that works with the text and graphics macros, works with any kind of macro. And they don't have to be different kinds from each other. They can be the same kind, they just have to be Windows specific. Or, I'm sorry, application specific. Windows specific limits it even further so that, for instance, if I'm in Microsoft, if I have 2 or 3 Microsoft Word windows open of different documents, I can limit it to only function in one of those documents. So you can narrow your focus down even further that way. So what we've seen so far here today is the use of the macro recorder allows you to create a macro that will repeat mouse movements, and those and also keyboard entry. I could have created the macro recorder over here type of macro to type the words I am smiling because it would play back the keystrokes that I hit. That it'll record, like I said, anything that can be seen on the screen. So it records clicks, it records double clicks, it records right clicks, it records anything you do on the screen. And the reason I wanted you to see that is that it can come in handy in some EMRs where a lot of people have EMRs where you can dictate into various fields, but you can't really control the electronic medical records program with your voice. You can't click on the button that's going to start a new patient note by saying new patient note or by saying anything. Nothing you say is going to get that to happen. If that's the case with your EMR, then you can start a recording, a macro recorder session, and record yourself clicking on that button. And then let's say that changes you to a new screen, and you would ordinarily have to click your mouse at a certain spot to get your cursor where you're going to want to dictate. Well, you can make that a part of the recording. So you click the button to get your new patient note, then click the mouse where the cursor needs to go, and off you go. You're ready to dictate. So it isn't really just for drawing smiley faces. It allows you to accomplish things in your EMR that ordinarily you would not be able to do with your voice. So you can use that for menu choices. You can use it for buttons and links within the EMR if your EMR doesn't generally respond to voice commands like that. You could create a series of macros that would allow you to do all kinds of different things with this macro recorder. That's why I wanted to show that one to you today, because it has come in handy for a lot of people that way. Now, the other kind of macro that I wanted to show you today is the step-by-step macro. Let's create. Let's see. This is my practices letterhead. We're going to create a document, real quick here, that has a particular layout we want. And let's say this is the practice for, the letterhead for my particular practice. And you can make the letterhead as fancy as you want. For those of you who aren't real familiar with Microsoft Word, what I just did there, you see this is kind of gray. It's not because it's going to look gray if I print it. It's that there is that space from the top of the sheet of paper down to where you normally start typing. That's called the header. And if you double click up there in the header, you see that you get this dotted line here, and now I'm in that space between the top of the paper and the top of my normal typing. You can put anything you like up here as a header. You can change how much space there is. And I know this isn't a class on Microsoft Word, but I just want you to be able to follow what it is that I'm doing here. So I put this up here because this is going to be the same in all the letters that I send out. It's going to be my letterhead. So you can put graphics up here. You can put your practice name and address and phone number and website address and all that in your header, so that each time you open this, that's protected from accidentally being messed up by what you're going to type. You're not going to accidentally type your text or dictate your text above it or erase it somehow. It's protected up there in the header where you have to deliberately go up there to change it. Now, how do I get that to show up every time I want to write a letter? Well, we save that as a template. So I'm going to save this as a Microsoft Word template, at this point. And those generally will go in a templates folder for Microsoft Word. And we're going to call this one Kirdamal's letterhead. Those of you who've seen my videos that come along with Dragon know that I have an alter ego named Dr. Kirdamal. So we're going to call this Kirdamal's letterhead and save it. Now, try to follow me on this, because it can be a little complex to set up your first one. But if you follow along and do follow these instructions that I'm going to give you, you can set up a master that'll save you a lot of the work that goes into creating this type of template. I'm going to start a new template again, and we're going to make this one a step-by-step. And we're going to call it Dragon Cured 'em All letterhead. Now, if you're not accustomed to making templates and macros, it is not necessary to have Dragon as the first word in the name, or it's not necessary to have Dragon in the name at all. But it is a good idea to name your macros and templates something that you won't say in ordinary dictation, because you don't want to be dictating a patient note and use an ordinary phrase and accidentally trigger the occurrence of a macro or template. You only want to trigger them when you intend to trigger them. So I usually stick something like the word Dragon at the beginning. I'm pretty consistent with that, and it is good to be consistent. That most of the time they start with Dragon, just as a habit. If it's a macro recorder template where I'm clicking on a button, I often call it Go, whatever. So go new patient note, or go here, go, so that that kind of categorizes it in my head as an instruction to go somewhere in an EMR. But at any rate, we're going to make this a step-by-step macro. And that allows you to enter in keystrokes, to open applications, to enter in a wait time, and you'll see that come in handy as we do this, to type text. You can send an individual keystroke. Now, the difference between that and keystrokes are also for key combinations, like alternate Shift D, or Control Shift alternate P, or whatever combination of keys you may want to hit. Whereas typing text is if you're actually going to type out words or phrases, and send keys is one single keystroke. And as soon as you type in that one single keystroke, that's as far as you can go with a send keys command. You can also control the microphone to turning it on and off to get input from you during the execution of the macro. In this case, what I want to do is I'm going to want to open Microsoft Word. So I insert the command to open an application. Now, here's where you have to know a little bit about your computer and how to get around in it. I'm going to browse to where Microsoft Word is. The first thing we have to do is tell it what program we want it to open. And since I'm going to open Microsoft Word, I need to go to my computer, to C drive. For most people, Word is going to be, if you're in Windows Vista or any of the 64-bit machines, you're going to have program files, and you're going to have program files x86. And for most people, Office is going to be an x86 because it installs by default as a 32-bit application. So you then go to I almost went out of habit to the Nuance folder because that's where I go most of the time. Microsoft Office, and I'm using, you can see here, Office 11, Office 12, and Office 14. I don't have all of those installed, but this is Office 2010, Office 2007, and Office 2003. And so if you have Office 2013, it's probably going to be 15 or 16, Office 15 or 16, I'm not sure. But I go to Office 14, and what I'm looking for is Microsoft Word is always called winword.exe. So I highlight that and click Open, and now the program knows that I'm going to open Microsoft Word. Now, here's where it gets a little more tricky. If you're comfortable working with Windows Explorer, you're not going to find this too tricky. But there's a tool, for those of you who may not be real familiar with it, there's a tool with Windows. It's called Windows Explorer, unless you've got Windows 8, in which case it's called File Explorer. And that allows you to look at your computer and see listings of what things are stored where on your computer. That's this program here. And if I click on C drive, if I click on, for instance, desktop, it's going to show me all of the things that are over here on my desktop. So I need to go to where that Microsoft Word template was stored. Templates are personal. They're specific to a given user. So if there is more than one person who uses this computer, templates that I create will be saved in a place where I can access them, but not necessarily other people. That kind of file usually appears in the user section. So we go to C drive, users, and my login, and then we go to app data, roaming. Whew, what are we doing? Well, stay with me for a minute. Oops, guess what? I took you to the wrong place. I always forget whether it's in app data or program data. And guess what? I picked the wrong one today. So it is in program data, Microsoft, now I'm really confused. Give me a second. I'm going to go back here. Okay, it is under me, app data, roaming, Microsoft. Now, why didn't I see that a minute ago? So, like I said, it's a little bit more complicated, but you'll see what I'm doing in just a minute, I think. All right, so I go back down here to app data, roaming, Microsoft. Oh, I know what happened. I went to Microsoft Office. I should have just gone straight down here to Microsoft Templates. Okay, so up here is the full, what they call the path, and I need to put that path where Dragon is going to be able to follow it. So I also need to tell it that this is a template. The way to tell it that this is going to be a Word template is to put a /T for template. And then, because there may be spaces in this path, I need to put the whole thing in quotes, in quotation marks. So it's C:\users \rex \appdata \roaming \Microsoft \templates. Then the complete file name, which was, I believe, Curedemol's letterhead. Yeah, there it is, Curedemol's letterhead, KURDEMALL space letterhead.doc. Actually, I forgot to change the file type to a template. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. When I did my save as, I left out a step. Want to change the file type to a template and save it. Now what that does, it gives it a different file extension. It ends with .docx. And that allows it to open up. If you ever, when you open a blank Word document, you'll see it doesn't have a name. It says Doc 1 or Document 1 at the top. where the name of the file normally is. That's because it's starting from a template. And what that does is it keeps you from accidentally changing this standardized format, because every time you open it, you're opening a fresh copy that's going to force you to give it a name before it's saved. And that protects you from accidentally changing it permanently. Now, you can put other steps in here. Maybe you want to enter in a keyboard shortcut to have it put in the current date, or type in some letters or something. You can make it do whatever you want. For the sake of this illustration, because I mentioned using the wait command, I'm going to build just a little extra thing in here. I'm going to tell it to wait, and you put things in milliseconds, thousandths of a second. So if you slide this slider all the way over to 2,500, that's 2.5 seconds. And I'm going to put another one in there and make it, well, I'm just going to make it an even 500. So that's another half second. So we have a total of 3 seconds of wait time to give Microsoft Word the chance to open. And then we want it to type text. And type in the text that I want it to put, and save it. So it's now Dragon Cure Them All Letterhead is the name of my step-by-step macro. Now we're going to close Microsoft Word so that you can see all copies of Word have been closed. And we're just going to say Dragon Cure Them All Letterhead. And it opens up Microsoft Word 2010. Guess what? I didn't allow it enough wait time. My computer just dinged at me a couple times. The reason for that is it tried to type the words before Word was fully open. So we need to edit that wait time. I'm going to make it a full 5-second wait. Okay, now let's try that again. Dragon Cured Them All Letterhead. So it, looks like I made more than one mistake. And here's the thing. It does take a little time, some trial and error to get it to work the first time. But I mentioned that you can create a master that'll save you a lot of time. Whoops. I'm going to make this one work. We're going to get this one to work in just a moment here. Then I'll show you how you can use this as a master that'll save you almost all of this work, because you really don't want to have to do the searching for it every time. Once you get one that works, you can use that as a master, and it'll really help. I think if I remember correctly, this may be what's called case sensitive, meaning if I have capital letters here, it needs to have capital letters in it. I think that's what I remember here. So let me just go through real quick, and I'm glad I'm having these mistakes so that you see that that they are solvable. It doesn't mean that a feature doesn't work or anything like that. It's just if you're human like I am, sometimes you don't get things set up the way you want the first time. All right, so that's Curedemols, letterhead, DOTX. Yep, okay. All right, so let's try it this time here. Dragon Curedemol letterhead. Well, it's opening Word. Microsoft letterhead.dotx. Well, what I'm going to do here is show you one that that I already had working, and that's the Cure Them All exam, and then show you how to use that as a master, because I've got some wrinkles to work out on this one. Cure Them All exam. That opens a copy of Microsoft Word 2010. With that letterhead and pretty much a whole standardized form. It's still called Document 1. It's not going to let me accidentally change it, but it's going to, it opens it up with Dr. Curedemol's letterhead up top, the patient name, date of birth, date of exam areas where you can put that information up there in the header, and this information. So there's a template opening it with a voice command that allows me to then skip through and fill in these fields and do whatever else I need to do with this on a regular basis. That's what I'm trying to set up here, and I just keep there's a small flaw in what I've done that keeps it from working quite right. But if I open this one up, you'll see there's the path to Microsoft Word, and it all looks like what pretty much like what I've done for you today. Just works the same, only this one works. But then what you do is when you get one that works, I'm going to do what's called a new, I right-clicked on that one and create new copy. And I'm going to call that one Master for Word Templates. Now, that's not one I'm going to use in my dictating. It's one I'm just going to save here. The Master for Word Templates, I'm just going to save it here. And that way, anytime I need to make one of these, if I develop a letterhead, anytime I need to make one, I can create a new copy of this and edit it, and then all I have to do is change this part of the name right here to be the name of the new template that I've created. And then it should work. So the one that I'm trying to get to work right now, I called it, oh, I see what I did. I left the R out of the name Curedemol. I called it Curedemol when I created the letterhead. That's what I did wrong. Curedemol's letterhead. All right, so I save this, and give it a new name. Dragon, I'm going to call it Dragon Second Try, and save it. Now I just say Dragon Second Try. Typographical errors can cause such problems. There it is. This is my practice's letterhead, and after that delay, it should type in, I am smiling. But it doesn't look like it is. But there, we've got it opening the right file. So that's two different kinds of two different kinds of macros, and some different ways that you can use them. Do you have, if you have questions on the little control panel that was opened up, there is an area to put questions. There's an area to put chats. And if you have any questions about this, feel free to type in there. I'll give you just a couple minutes to put your questions in. All right. Well, if there are no questions, I want to thank you all for coming, and I wanted to let you know, and I didn't open it up. I wanted to remind you that this webinar is put on by HTHEngineering. You can find us on the internet at www.startstop.com. That's www.startstop.com. And you can call us at 866-254-0714. We are an engineering company that specializes in most everything you could need for dictation or transcription. Everything from digital voice recorders, call-in recording stations, Dragon Naturally Speaking, a number of different varieties of that, such as Dragon Medical, Dragon Legal, Dragon Professional, and Dragon Premium. And then that's for all kinds of things for the dictation side. And then on the transcription side, we sell transcription kits, our own branded products, Start-Stop, both on the dictation and transcription side. We have some branded products of our own, as well as being authorized dealers of Olympus and Philips products. We are here to serve you, here to try to help you with your dictation and transcription needs. So give us a call or look us up on the web, and we'll be glad to help you in any way we can. I want to thank you again for coming, and if there are no questions, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming, and we look forward to the next time. Take care.